Welcome to another connection here on TKO8 Television. Dennis King, thanks for joining us on the show this week. Each week we come into our studio and have organizations come in to talk about what they're doing, and many of them have some very important roles that they handle around our viewing area, and it takes a lot of volunteers in any organization, as you well know. We do appreciate all the great organizations in the viewing area, and we do appreciate them contacting us and coming on our Connection show. We try to get that information out to you so you'll know more about what's available to you around the viewing area. Stay with us. Be back in a moment. We're going to have an organization representative here from a brand new organization, at least in the area, on Connection.
Sullivan Pharmacy has been serving your prescription needs for over 40 years. Our professional staff is glad to assist you with prescriptions, over-the-counter medicines, and healthcare products. Stop by Sullivan Pharmacy if you have questions about Medicare Part D, and we'll be glad to help. If you're in a hurry, use our convenient drive-through window so you don't have to get out of your car. Sullivan Pharmacy, 731 North Main Street in Harrison, helping you feel better since 1965.
Engine threats lurk around every corner. Corrosion, wear, and gunk. Stay ahead of engine threats with Shell V Power Nitro Plus Premium Gasoline. The best total engine protection you can get. Choose a breakthrough in premium gasoline.
Back on Connection here on TKO8 Television, and our first guest in the studio today is coming to us from an organization that actually got put together about the mid part of 2016, the Ozark Mountain Quail Forever Chapter. They're part of a national organization. Stephen Brown, thank you so much, Stephen, for coming in, coming up from
Alco.
Alco, and if you don't know where Alco is, I'd actually forgotten where Alco is located, and Stephen told me, so he's out there where should be a lot of quail one of these days. Maybe.
One of these days, we hope.
We hope. Stephen, I appreciate you coming in, and I had seen some information back some time ago, I guess in 2016 actually, they put the organization together, and then they've been moving forward since that time, of local people, not just Boone County, but it says Ozark region, so that means counties in and around Harrison, could be Newton County, Marion County, Searcy County, Boone, etc., that want to get quail, Bob White I call them, back into the area. They've been almost extinct for many, many years, and we're going to talk about some of the reasons why that you don't see quail around this area, and hopefully you will if they're successful in what they're trying to do. You started this local organization. I guess you had the national chapter people or regional people come up to help you get it set up. Is that right, Stephen?
Regional representative. Our regional representative is John Wallace. He lives in Missouri, and he covers Arkansas, Louisiana, and Missouri. And he came down and set up the chapter with the beginning, the people that started the chapter, and we were moving right along from that.
The organization itself, I know anytime you start up a new chapter, it's a real challenge because you want to get the word out what your mission statement is, so to speak. What are you trying to do as an organization? What are you hopefully trying to accomplish as you move forward? And I know it takes time. Obviously.
It takes time. Basically, get the habitat, projects to get habitat back so the quail can come back. Not only does it benefit the quail, but it helps the other wildlife, the birds. In fact, there's 20 species of birds that will use the same habitat as the quail.
I was reading about some information on their national chapter website, and you think about what's the main predator to quail, and it had on there man, bulldozers and bush hogs. That's the main predator for quail, and,
exactly.
And that was kind of an unusual statement that they put on there, but right. I guess it's true.
It's true. And also a lot of the grasses that have been planted in the past, the quail don't like, so they won't nest there.
Speaking of that, if somebody's watching the show here and they maybe want to know more, we're going to tell them how to get a hold of your organization. But what is the premier habitat type stuff? What kind of forage do they like?
The bushes, the piles of wood and everything on. When you cut trees down, leave the branches there and stack them up. Quail like it, turkeys like it.
So they need to cover. They need that
They
protection.
need to cover, right?
Protection.
And
what about the actual grasses itself? What's their favorite? What do they? No, fescue's not one of them.
no,
I'm
fescue's
sure.
not one of them.
Like wheat and
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
Stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah, that you don't see a lot of anymore,
No.
do you? Yeah. You know, you think about quail, and you think, as Stephen mentioned, a lot of birds that actually utilize the same habitat, and so many of the farmers and landowners through the years have gone in and they've cleared out the fence rows and they've cleared out their piles of shrubs and bushes and so forth, or burnt those piles out. And once you do that, and obviously they do have natural predators. I'm sure the hawks and eagles and
Right.
et cetera, that if they have nowhere to go, they're going to be out in the open type of situation.
Right.
Yeah. So if you were advising somebody out there, what would you advise them to do as far as preparing some of their acreage? And you don't have to have a whole lot of acreage to help out
No.
on this thing.
Basically, if you've got a pasture and you're bush hogging it, or cutting trees down around, or bush hogging the wheat or whatever grass, leave a area away from the fence,
Okay.
like a 3 or 4 foot wide area, and they nest in there,
Okay.
and then grow stuff that they can eat and everything. So
Are quail, I guess, maybe fall in the same category maybe as pheasant? We don't have pheasant in this part of the country, but are they pretty resilient? I mean, if you give them a chance, do they produce pretty well?
if you give them the right nesting area and everything, they will make a comeback.
They will.
And so that's what we're trying to do.
Well, one thing that I guess that your organization is trying to do, a big part of it is to educate the public on what they can do, the little things they can do to help move forward with this program. And if you've got some notes there, you can tell me about. You go ahead, because I know you brought.
Yeah, we're Quail Forever is dedicated to the conservation of quail, pheasants, and other wildlife through the habitat improvements, public awareness, getting the word out. What to do to get the quail back. Education, educate the people on the quail, and land management policies and programs.
Right.
That's any one of those helps.
I would assume organization like yours. Do you try to get involved with in the state of Arkansas, like Arkansas Game and Fish? Can you get some help from them?
Yeah, and we'll help them, and also different organizations. A company will come by and say, "We want to do this," or "We want to help out." We'll say, "Go plant some
Right.
clear some habitat, make some habitat for them."
Right. It's very important that especially people that's got acreage out there, and it doesn't have to be a huge farm or anything, but if they could just plant some small plots of the proper feed,
Right.
and again do what you're talking about, not give them some cover in those fence rows and some of your brush piles. Leave them there if they're not hindering your farming operation. To give them some. Is there any plan to actually bring in quail and plant some quail down the road? And what's your plan there?
Well, not at this time that I know of.
Okay.
There may be things, but I also have heard that farm-raised quail do not necessarily do well in the wild.
Gotcha.
So if we can get the wild ones to reproduce, that's better. We can bring them in and they'll last for, they may make it, they may not.
I understand. I
But
didn't
the
even think
percentage-wise, it's not good.
I didn't think about, that's true. I mean, if you got a pen raised bird of any type, they're very susceptible to predators because they're not used to having to deal with their predators, their natural prey. So we've got about 5 minutes left, so I want to get into a little bit about your fundraising event. Now, I guess, do you have to actually raise your money? Do you have your 501c, I'm sure,
Right.
nonprofit?
Right.
So
Yes, we do. And we do these fundraisers. We raffle guns off. We have our banquet, which is coming up March the 24th over at the Quality Inn in Harrison. All of our money that we fundraise on that banquet, stays with the chapter. Chapter has control over it.
Okay.
Unlike some other organizations that send it off to higher headquarters and with the membership that you get at the banquet, if you come to the banquet, one of the things you get is a membership.
Oh.
Now that money we have to send to National, but it goes into
Your national
the professional services of the biologists and the others, and they provide us with the funds. Now, also I mentioned it pays for a biologist. Quail Forever has just put a new wildlife biologist in Boone County. Her name is Jessica Cox, and she works out of the USDA field office over on Walnut Street, I believe. And so she's just been hired and it's on board and going strong already.
Wow, that'll help you a lot, won't it?
Right, it will.
Okay, so your event coming up here is it's the second annual banquet, Saturday, March 24th. Starts at 5 p.m., I guess.
5:30.
5:30, and it's at the convention, the Quality Inn Convention Center on 65. So what's your ticket price? What's it cost for you?
A single ticket for one person is $55 or $45.
Okay.
$35 of that, which will go into the membership.
Okay.
For a couple, it's $60, and you get a membership and 2 meals. We have some sponsorship programs. What we call a Bob White sponsor, which would be like a couple. It's $250, and they get the membership and dinners and then some other little items to thank them for. We also have what we call a Covey sponsor. At $600, you get 6 people, sponsored table. You're in a drawing for a gun. Everybody goes into a drawing for a gun. And if you register before March 28th, even as a single person, you can go, it's called an early bird drawing, and your name goes in for a drawing for a gun.
You mean February 28th?
No, March.
Well, your deal is March 24th.
Oh, yeah, February 28th.
February 28th.
Yeah.
Okay, so early registration.
Early registration, right. So.
Okay. So this is not only an opportunity to go and have a good meal and hear drawings, etc., but an opportunity to join the organization. You can, of which the majority of it stays with the local chapter, is what you're saying.
The membership, the fundraising stays with the organization. The memberships go to national.
I'm assuming since you started the organization in 2016 that you've grown quite a bit, so you've got several members and so forth.
Last year we had 130 people at our banquet.
Wow, nice.
And we're shooting for 200 this year.
Very nice. Well, Stephen, I'm glad you came in. I want to have you come back down the road and talk to us about how you're progressing as an organization. Again, it's Ozark Mountain Quail Forever Chapter. And if you'd like more information, is there a phone number they could call?
They can call me at 870-214-0258.
Okay, very good.
And I can
get you information
and get them hooked up with the website so they can
very good.
Purchase tickets online if they want to.
Very good. Stephen Brown, thank you so much for being with us, Stephen. Again, quickly, their annual banquet, Saturday, March 24th, 5:30 p.m. at the Quality Inn Convention Center. You can get tickets, go. It's a great event. We got to get the quail back in the Ozarks. Good luck with your organization, and good luck with getting the Bob Whites back here in the Ozarks. Stay with us. Be back in a moment. We're going to have a young lady here from Youth Bridge to talk about what that organization does for our community and the surrounding area.
Many things have changed over the years, and so has auto body repair. Even though Ozark Auto Body has been in business for over 30 years, they continue to change with the times. They believe protecting the environment is important and have done so by using environmentally friendly waterborne paint from PPG. This aligns with the technology used by original manufacturers and gives you a lifetime limited warranty. Quality PPG waterborne paint, ASC certified personnel, plus 24-hour towing service. Ozark Auto Body in Harrison, always taking pride in excellence.
Whether you ride mud, rocks, dunes, or trails, Polaris has a razor to match your passion. Unequaled power, unrivaled suspension, unmatched agility, and unbeatable comfort. Everything you need to chase memories and catch them. Find your razor at Polaris.com.
Back on Connection here on TKO8 Television, Dennis King. Thanks for joining us on the show this week. Our next guest in the studio, I've actually known her for a long time. I'm getting old, that's the problem is, and she's still young. Shauna Burns is with us with YouthBridge. Shauna, thank you for coming in.
Thank you
I
for
appreciate
having
it
me.
very much. And when I found out that you were over the YouthBridge, I thought, well, maybe she'll remember me. And,
Yes,
and
absolutely.
I really wanted you to come in because it's YouthBridge. A lot of people may not understand all the things that they do, and they play such an important role in our community and the surrounding communities with youth. And so we're going to talk about that and let people know what they do, and maybe somebody out there that knows of a situation where maybe YouthBridge could help that individual. And I do appreciate it. Won't you just in a nutshell, a little bit about YouthBridge, Shauna?
Okay, well, we've been around for about 50 years, nonprofit. We have 5 outpatient offices scattered throughout Northwest Arkansas. We're in Harrison, Berryville, Mountain Home, Fayetteville, and Rogers.
Okay.
And so we do a lot of work with the courts. We work with the schools, just with the community. We do a lot of good work there.
You know, we have, Shauna, through the time we've been doing this show for many years, but I try to get organizations that people want to hear about out there, not just, it's something, we're not doing this show to make money, so it's not businesses, but we want organizations to come in and talk about what they do so that hopefully if somebody's watching the show, they will know, well, we do have sources for the problem.
Yes,
Mental health in the young people is a major concern. Nationally, it's a major concern.
Absolutely.
A lot of it's tied with opioid use and drugs and families that are in situations. And, we have Grandma's House, we have CASA, we have DHS, we have all these organizations, and we've had them in here. That's why I wanted to get you in here, because I know you interact with a lot of those organizations. Is that correct?
Yes, we do.
And what about in school? How do you deal? How do you work with the school systems?
We have been in the schools for quite a while,
Okay.
And it's a very intensive program. Unfortunately, in mental health, when families have to bring the child to the clinic every week for services, sometimes that can be pretty tough,
Yes.
especially with gas prices and all of that. So we have found that working on school campus is just a great way to provide consistency of services for these kids. And so we have pretty intensive services. We usually have about 3 staff for every 25 kids.
Okay.
We are free to the schools. We do not charge the schools at all.
Okay.
We also have grant funding to where we work with a certain amount of kids for free, regardless if they have insurance source or if their deductibles are too high. Unfortunately, with the Affordable Health Care Act,
Yes.
there were some positives there with kids being able to get services, but several of them have $5,000 and $6,000 deductibles. So that's one of the things we try to do is work with those kids that can't afford it. We have after school and summer programs available. In a lot of our schools we do, just kind of, once again, depending on how many kids are there, our after school programs are pretty awesome. We do groups as far as anger management and anxiety groups, that kind of thing. And then our summer programs are pretty intensive as well. We learned a long time ago that if a child has mental health issues in May, they're most likely going to have mental health issues in June, July, and August. And so we don't want those kids falling through the cracks. So we will transport the kids to the summer programs and just provide intensive services to make sure they get what they need. So
How do you or where do you get, or where do you go to? Maybe I'm not sure if I'm phrasing this right. Where do you go to for physicians, and how do you interact with physicians, or do you
Good
have
question.
physicians?
Yes, we do. We have actually an APN who works for us, and we have psychiatrists who work for us as well. So we do the med management piece.
Okay.
If a child needs the psych meds or that kind of thing. So
Okay,
yeah.
so you already have that. I knew you had to have some kind of connection there. Let's go back to the insurance part of it a little bit. With all the changes in federal government, and they haven't even gotten to, other than the mandate, they haven't really gotten to the Obamacare that people are aware of. How is that going to, or do you even know, how's that going to affect you?
We know that in June there are some pretty serious changes that are being made to the Medicaid system.
Okay.
Financially, that's gonna hurt. We know that the cost. There is going to be some pretty big changes there. There are also some positives I think that are coming because Medicaid's opening funds for like family intensive in-home services.
Okay.
So I think we're going to see the model shift. I don't think it's all going to be bad. I think it's going to be some positives. Unfortunately, when you start, when you receive less per hour for these services, that can be pretty tough for a nonprofit.
Yes.
And so we're trying to brace and prepare for that. We always say we've been here for 50 years. We're not going anywhere. But at the same time, we are starting to make preparations because we know it's coming.
Going to be coming.
Yeah.
Is Medicaid, and I know you have a lot of Medicaid people. Is Medicaid your primary source?
Yes.
As far as insurance goes? I
Yes.
know you have people that can afford Blue Cross Blue Shield or Aetna or whatever, and then they have situations where they bring their children to you. But is the majority of your patients
Yes.
fall into that category?
The majority of our clients do have Medicaid or our kids, but we do have several who have Blue Cross Blue Shield, and we take almost every insurance.
Okay.
So we are prepared, and we have a couple of more insurances like TRICARE that we're in the process of getting, being able to accept. So
How does the with the children out there, I know we've got a lot of homeless kids in the school district here and other school districts. I guess they could get on Medicaid, but some families or guardians or parents, ever how you want to put it, they don't know, they don't have the education, or they don't know where to go, so they don't have anything.
Right.
So is that the ones you're talking about that you just have to take?
Yes. Well, we have. One of the things we do offer is if we have a family that comes in and they don't have any insurance,
Okay.
one of the first things we do is we can sit down with them and help them with the application. We have, we call them school techs in our school-based mental health programs who can bring those families in, sit down and help them apply, because many times that's the issue. They just don't know where to go next. Unfortunately, there's some families who are just right at that line to where they don't qualify. And that makes it tough because you've got really hardworking families that have to pay, once again, for insurance, and their deductibles are $5,000 or $6,000.
Yes.
So we really get in there and do our best to serve. We want to serve every kid. And there are times in our school-based mental health programs when we have interns or we have extra grant funding coming in that will just open the doors. We've done that actually many times and served everyone. Unfortunately, once again, funding doesn't allow for that all the time. But we do have a certain population that we're able to work with who have no funding at all.
Wow.
So yeah.
I know that Shauna was telling me actually that YouthBridge, for those of you in the Harrison area, if you don't know where it's located, it's actually on Crandall and Main Street. If you know where Sullivan Pharmacy is there, it's right around the corner, and they actually own that part of the building, and you're expanding coming up.
Yes, yeah, we just took on the therapeutic day treatment. You and I had talked about this a little bit earlier. When Vantage Point closed its doors, there were a few hundred clients who were getting ready to be left without a home, and so we opened our doors and have taken on as many as we can. But the therapeutic day treatment was definitely a community need, and that was very frightening because if we didn't pick up that program, there was not going to be anyone pick up that program. So basically what a therapeutic day treatment is a lot of these students who they need, because of behavioral or emotional issues, they're not being successful in the schools. And so many times parents will pull them, they'll homeschool them, or the school, says, hey, we need help. We've done everything we possibly can.
Yes.
And so we'll take those students, and we provide intensive mental health counseling for them. We do groups, we have case management services, and we also offer that educational component. So they're getting the education they need in more of a smaller setting, but at the same time, we're treating the whole child. We're treating the child's emotions so that they can get to the place that they can learn.
Wow.
So, yeah.
When she talks about this, and for those of you who may be experiencing situation, we got about 4 minutes.
Okay.
Tell me a little bit. How do you recognize this? If somebody's out there watching the show?
Recognize mental health issues.
Yes.
I think you just have to. There's so many signs. If you have children who have behavioral issues, ongoing behavioral issues, emotional issues, they stay upset all the time, they withdraw, they don't want to be around groups of people. A lot of times children will tell you when they're hurting. They'll reach out, I don't want to be here anymore, I hate my life. Children are telling us what their symptoms are. We just have to pay attention. And unfortunately, sometimes kids are getting to the place that they want to give up and they don't want to be here, and we have to be very careful because we're seeing a lot of that in our area. We're seeing a lot of kids with suicidal thoughts. We're seeing kids who are, we've lost about 3 in a 60-mile radius in the last month, which is just devastating. So we just need to pay attention because children are telling us that they're hurting, and when they are, we need to reach out, find a mental health counselor. There are people available. We just have to keep looking until we find someone to help that child. So
we got a couple minutes left. If somebody's out there and they think there could be an issue with their child, or maybe they're a guardian, there's lots of grandparents having to raise kids out there, and the older people, older than me, maybe don't recognize as quickly or whatever because they haven't had children in a long time. Who should they contact? What would they call? Would they call?
Yes, they can absolutely call us. Our number is 741-8484.
Okay.
And so if somebody just needed to reach out and say, hey, my child is experiencing these issues, what do I do? We can definitely pull them in for an assessment, and if they qualify, then automatically enroll them in services. I would also recommend, guardians to reach out at their schools, find a school counselor, and just say, hey, these are the things that are going on with my child. Are these red flags? Are these signs? We have excellent resources in our school counselors. They're very knowledgeable, and so they can also help guardians with recognizing when there's an issue present.
Yeah, the main thing is you just don't want to ignore it.
That's right.
You got to do something about it.
That's
Shauna,
right.
It's been such a pleasure having you come in today, and don't be a stranger. I want you to come back in. You've actually got another program that we won't get into it today, but let's have you back maybe next month.
Awesome.
And talk about she's got another program that they're doing. They've expanded and they're doing some other things, and we want to keep up with what the importance of the programs they have is so important to the community. So thank you so much.
Thank
Shauna
you,
Burns
Dennis,
with
for having
us
me.
with Youth Bridge. And if you're out there and you know of a child that perhaps the behavioral side of it's just not right, please get a hold of them. And if they can't help you, they'll get you in the right direction because they have all the connections in the community. Thanks again.
Thanks,
good luck,
Dennis.
and good luck with your expansion program too.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us on Connection today. We hope we brought some information to you perhaps you didn't know about. Join us each week as we connect with you and what's going on around the area.
KTKO Channel 8 Harrison. Local television worth watching. Crystal clear mountain streams, river rapids, and rolling hills with endless valleys. The beauty of the Ozarks we often take for granted. At Magnus Toyota, we never underestimate the value of our customers. As a third-generation family-owned business, Magnus Toyota has been operating here in the Ozarks for over 50 years. When we make a new deal, we make a new friend. Stop in and visit us today and see why our customers say we're the